Hey, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Lakers for Thursday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers have their third straight win in thrilling fashion, easily the best and most satisfying ending of any Lakers game this season. 107-104, the final score over the Mavericks. And Andy, the hero was Austin Reaves. Of course. We'll talk about that and much more on Locked On Lakers.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every single day, Monday through Friday. We get this thing up bright and early, so no matter where you are, no matter how you listen, how you get your podcast, this thing is ready for you. Andy, so on a night like tonight when the Lakers pull out a stunning and exciting win over the Mavericks, you can listen whenever you want. Want to let you know as well that this episode of Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Truebill. It's the new app that saves you money by helping you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't want or need. And you can even negotiate better deals for those that you want to keep. We'll talk a little bit about the lineup, talk about the Lakers and their COVID stuff. It is permeating throughout the organization. 3 guys couldn't play on Wednesday night, but even support staff now are in the protocols. Billy Mack, does the TV broadcast, Andy, unable to do the game on Wednesday. He's been sent home.
Yeah, thankfully it seems like so far that people who've been testing positive have been asymptomatic. They're feeling okay. Best case scenario, you've got some false positives going on, like what happened with LeBron. It gets cleared up quickly. Everything gets back to, I guess, what would be the new normal as soon as possible. Or just you have guys who maybe test positive, but because everybody's vaccinated and, they seem to be feeling okay, the recovery period is quicker. And then, again, you get back to what is now the new normal as quick as possible. But just there could be some chaos going on. I wonder if it's just going on in LA because the Rams have been just piling up dudes.
It's across sports. I mean, the Calgary Flames have 27 people. That's a hockey team. They have 27 people in their COVID protocols. Players, coaches, and staff. There are football teams. The Cleveland Browns are so. I mean, across sports, COVID has become very quickly a very large issue. So it's that with the Lakers, no Malik Monk, no THT, no Dwight Howard on Wednesday. But what this does is in the rotation, Andy, it opens up space for Austin Reaves, and he played a lot, and he played really well. 32 minutes in a 107-104 overtime win over Dallas in Dallas, the first of a 3-game road trip, and the Lakers playing a little bit shorthanded against a shorthanded Mavericks team, admittedly with no Luka Doncic. We can talk about LeBron, and we can talk about Westbrook, and we can talk about Davis. But Andy, we've been talking all year about how badly the Lakers need a guy who can play both sides of the floor, spread the floor a little bit, defend multiple positions, including guys who play on the wing. And all year long, in his moments where he's gotten to play, Austin Reaves has shown signs of being able to be that guy. And on Wednesday, he damn near made it impossible for Frank Vogel to take him off the floor, certainly in this game, but perhaps in many, many, many games to come.
Yeah, this is Austin Reaves right now. He's celebrating, man. He is feeling himself. The game like he had tonight. It was actually, I thought, really interesting to see this with Reaves. Just like the idea of the full encapsulation of just things that you've seen from him. Like, he had 5 threes in this game, which is obviously an outlier compared to what he's done on the season.
5 of 6. I mean, it wasn't even 5 of 12. It was 5 of 6.
5 of 6.
Including the game winner.
Right, including the game winner with a second left. He actually got fouled during it, which I'm not saying to complain, but it just really lets you know the concentration
Andy,
that he had in the
Shaq.
moment.
Basically, the referees feel like it's so unfair already. They can't just start calling everything.
No, obviously. I mean, otherwise it would be Austin Reaves in a parade to the line, and it wrecks the
It's too
flow of the
much.
game.
Exactly.
Like people have been complaining for, I don't know, a good 3 months throughout his career that the guy gets too many calls. So, people talk about James Harden and Trae Young and the new rules and stuff like that to prevent just these cheap fouls. They're really about Hillbilly Kobe. But
Exactly.
5 threes for him is an outlier. He actually has not shot the ball in the regular season nearly as well as he did in the preseason. But what he's been willing to do all year is take these shots. Like he doesn't hesitate. And defensively, there are times where he looks really good. He's very alert on where he's supposed to be. He rotates really well. I think he understands concepts well
Moves his feet
beyond
well,
his
all that
experience.
stuff.
He can still, and you saw this early in the game when they were targeting him a lot. He still can get rubbed out on screens pretty easily and can get a little bit compromised there, but he fights. And then if you don't screen him out and Frank Vogel talked about this after the game, because the league isn't totally familiar with him yet, like they'll sometimes think that he's a rookie that you can pick on defensively. And no, like
it's not just he's a rookie you can pick on defensively. You look at the guy. I mean, you look at him physically when he's around and he's standing on an NBA floor. He doesn't really have an NBA body. He looks like he's about 9 years old, and all that stuff. And you just assume based on the aesthetics, quite frankly, you can get around him. He's going to be a sort of slow-footed white guy who's not going to be able to keep up with you.
And he looks 15 and unassuming and all that.
Floppy haired and if he says words, they're going to come out with that accent that he's got. And it's one of those deals where you're right. Physically, he can be overpowered at times. There were times where a guy like Jalen Brunson would get into his body and he's not as strong as he needs to be.
Right.
But at the NBA level. But in terms of all the other stuff, positional awareness, moving your feet, taking the right angle, he does all of that other stuff well, which makes up for the lack of physical strength and makes him one of the best defenders this team has.
Right. I was going to say, and the point of bringing up even some of the shortcomings was to talk about, though, on balance, the game ended up, I think, a pretty good showcase of just all the different ways that he can help defensively for a team that does not have. They don't have not just a lot of wings. They don't have a lot of guys that you can even sort of pretend that they're wings. You can talk yourself into it. Austin Reaves falls into the talk yourself into it category because he's not really a guy that you want to play for any type of, small forwardish type role unless you absolutely have to. I mean, he's too small for that against most teams, but he does well enough. And then as a passer, he's not somebody that can run a set for you. Like you're not going to have him even as like a secondary ball handler run that sort of stuff. But what I think he does do really well is if he needs to make the right pass or he can recognize something right away, he's very decisive and he's really creative. And he's somebody that just, I think, moves the ball very well, even if I wouldn't necessarily say I would look for him to be a playmaker, if that makes sense.
We don't need to. I disagree with, at least to some level, with your evaluation of him as both a playmaker and potentially as a secondary ball handler. I agree he's not somebody you have initiate the offense, call out plays, he's not a point guard. But beyond that, I actually think you might be underselling some of what he does. But either way, I am in 100% in agreement that he is a guy. The reason he works well in the offense, particularly when he plays with LeBron, when he plays with Westbrook, and all that, is because he moves the ball quickly. Yeah. He makes the right pass almost always. And then you add, I think, the creativity that you mentioned. Again, I think you might be underselling it a little bit, but either way, surrounded by good players, he will find the right guy and be in the right spot to receive a pass, whether that's a cut or, like we saw on Wednesday, being in the right spot to get that kick out from Russell Westbrook as he drove into the lane and got up and needed an outlet. He was, Reaves was where he needed to be. He was in the exact right spot. I mean, I suspect, we'll have the ability to talk a little bit more about Reaves, for the rest of it. I mean, it does put the Lakers in a good position as eventually guys like Ariza come back, THT come back, whatever. Hard lineup decisions are among positive players is something that Vogel, I think, really wants to be able to make. But let's talk a little bit about the big three, because it was an unusual and interesting game, up and down in certainly, I think, for a couple of those guys. And LeBron had some really interesting comments about where the Lakers are as a team. We'll do that next.
Locked On Lakers brought to you by Prize Picks. Okay, Laker fans, you've been hearing me tell you about Prize Picks for months. Have you signed up yet? Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. If you haven't checked it out yet, you are missing out. You are going to love this app for NBA and mixed sports pick'ems. Christmas Day games are coming, and they're going to be off the charts. Lakers Nets, anyone? And they're going to be more fun if you play Prize Picks. Prize Picks has the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. Prize Picks offers more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator and offers all the superstar players as well as bench players, only recording a handful of minutes each game. Prize Picks offers mixed sports entries. You can do the over on LeBron points combined with the under on Tom Brady passing touchdowns, his NFL GOAT versus the NBA GOAT in the same entry. Mix it up, make it fun, man. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Prize Picks, it's safe. They offer fast withdrawals. Go to prizepicks.com today. Use the promo code NBA or go to the App Store, download the app. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. If you're not playing Prize Picks, you don't know what you're missing.
All right. So, I mean, overall, when we talked to Nick Angstadt to preview this game, host of Locked On Mavs and the Locked On NBA podcast, he did note that the Mavs are a jump shooting team that has not made jump shots, and that is exactly what happened on Wednesday. Mavs were 12 of 44 from three-point range, only 39 of 98 from the floor overall. So it was a really good defensive performance from the Lakers. It was not, while it was a very exciting end to the game, and it featured some good moments overall, it was not a good offensive game for the Lakers, though, either. Again, 107-104, Andy, in overtime. So not a ton of production from the Lakers. Anthony Davis was 8 of 18, so not super efficient there. Westbrook was 8 of 18. LeBron 9 of 19. None of the big three shooting over 50%. It was a really herky-jerky evening from pretty much everybody on the roster offensively except Reaves. Ellington missed, I believe, his first 5 3-pointers, made a huge one at the end. But
that sent the game in overtime. Yeah,
that sent the game overtime. But overall, didn't shoot the ball well. Avery Bradley, only 1 of 5 from 3-point range. It was not a good offensive night for the big three, and yet they did manage to win, which I think is a nice change of pace for this team, if nothing else.
Well, I mean, the big three combined for 67 total points, so they all found their spots to contribute. Like, LeBron was pretty steady throughout the course of this game. Anthony Davis was much better in the second half than the first. The first half, he only had 4 points. They were doubling him a lot in the post, basically the minute he touched the ball, and it was bothering him for a while. They did a better job in the second half, the Lakers, of getting him the ball either in pick and rolls or on the move, or just situations where he could be more decisive and do something one way or the other before the defense could really react and start doubling him. Russ played better in the first half than he did in the second half, but he had a big corner three in overtime. He had a few really big passes, including the one that set up Austin Reaves for the game winner. And it was just one of those times where all three of them, again, LeBron was steady, reminded you of the importance of star power. And for all of the struggles Westbrook had at times, he came close to having a triple.
Andy, we already talked about Reaves. Let's talk about the big three now.
Russ came 1 assist short of a triple double, and he had 4 turnovers that were pretty front loaded. He got better with the ball as the game went along. Anthony Davis had 12 rebounds. We've talked before, Brian, about the importance of seeing him play bigger on the glass, particularly for this team. And one of the things that I thought was really great about this game for the Lakers was down the stretch, they were not just missing big shots, missing 3-pointers. They were airballing them, like straight effing
Wayne
air
Ellington
balls.
had a clutch
Yes.
time air ball.
Yes.
I mean, it's
and
one thing like Westbrook misses a corner three. You kind of expect that. But
he had an air ball.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he's missing, clanking.
Well, I just want to
things
make
off
it
his-
clear. I'm not even talking just misses. I'm talking specific air balls. Like I'm not even talking about all the different categories
LeBron had
of misses
one that was
possible.
barely not an air ball. Like we
Anthony
both
Davis, I
basically
believe, had 2 air balls.
he might have. He only took 3 threes. None of them went in. But like, and I think we both tweeted something to that effect. Like the Lakers have missed their last like 5 3-pointers by a combined 65 feet, except the one that Reeves shot. But they were horrible shooting in the clutch until they weren't. Like, and then they were incredible. Like when the last opportunity where they needed Westbrook to hit a 3-pointer in the corner, he hit it. The last opportunity where they needed Ellington to hit a 3, which by the way was off a miss, where they got, that was the Westbrook. I think that was LeBron who took the 3 to try to get him into overtime. Davis wrestled the ball away from Maxi Kleber, I believe it was, and the ball ends up with Ellington, who had not shot the ball well. But when they needed that last one, he made it. Reeves to win the game, made it. Like they were terrible shooting in the clutch until they weren't. And that was just, it was just nice to see them be able to win a game where those guys weren't perfect. Because other than Reeves, it's not like the supporting cast was, piling up big numbers to bail them out. Bradley had 5, Ellington had 9, Melo had 9, DeAndre had 2, Bazemore didn't score in 15 minutes. It's, it wasn't a superlative offensive night all around, but they grinded one out. It seems at least like they might be getting the hang of it defensively.
Well, I mean, they before even getting to the defense, I thought it was significant the way they grinded out with those shots and worked through that adversity, because it wasn't just outside shots that they were missing. They were having a ton of trouble at the rim. Like there were a lot of guys who missed just straight up chippies, like stuff that they really should be making pretty easily. They weren't going down. There were a few times where I remember Westbrook, he got fouled and, he let them know, but he actually got back, like what I thought was really good about this game is despite some stuff that was legitimately frustrating, this was not a game where you saw a lot of complaining. And I think that's really important for a team with this many guys who are either still superstars or have been superstars, because a lot of times those guys are the biggest complainers, and complaining can get contagious. And that stuff.
That was the big one of the big complaints that Jason Kidd has about Luka.
Yeah,
like stop bitching and get back on defense.
I mean, look, when we covered those
problem with the Lakers earlier in the year.
Well, when we cover those Kobe Powell teams, I mean, Kobe, I don't think until you see him live, you really realize just how much time Kobe spent writing the refs. And the answer to that is however long the game lasted, that is how long he spent writing the refs. And that would have a trickle-down effect to Powell, to Lamar, to Derek Fisher. Like that was a team that we covered that, as great as they were, and we really enjoyed those guys, they complained their asses off every single game. And that's something that becomes contagious. But what I also like too, though, is the guys like Avery Bradley, or I thought even Kent Bazemore, who didn't bring much to the table offensively. They had moments where they were, I thought, really disruptive defensively. This team, as you said, I think they're starting to become more connected defensively. Like they're never going to be what Frank Vogel wants them to be. Like the utopian defensive version of what Frank Vogel would design his teams first, because they just don't have that personnel. But they're starting to become better. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they're starting to become better as Frank has started to accept the idea that they got to go smaller. And just you got to make it work.
I will say a lot of the super small lineups got kind of abused. I mean, on Wednesday, but I mean, generally speaking, I think I mean, he didn't even with Dwight missing, he didn't go, give DeAndre 25 minutes. I just I was a little less impressed with Bazemore as you, but overall, it's hard to say anybody was terrible on a night where they they held Dallas under 100 points in regulation. But your point about kind of the way that they won and finding some connectivity and all that kind of stuff. We've talked a lot about the Lakers kind of needing to understand where they are and who they are. And LeBron spoke to that a little bit after the game in a way that I think probably should encourage Lakers fans who are looking for, signs that the team gets it in ways perhaps that they didn't earlier in the year. We'll talk about that next.
Locked On Lakers brought to you by Truebill. Do you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's because it's a business scam out to get you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download Truebill to take control of your subscriptions. Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or just forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill. Companies make subscriptions hard to cancel. They're an absolute hassle, but Truebill makes it simple. Just link your accounts and Truebill will cancel all those unwanted subscriptions in one tap. Truebill has over 2 million users and they've helped them save over $100 million collectively. It's amazing. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now, Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. It could save you thousands a year. Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA.
So we've said, Andy, a lot. We've talked about sort of a certain humility that this team needs in terms of just understanding what can get them a win. And again, this is kind of what I'm getting at when I say it's encouraging to see them figure out a way to win on a night where the big three isn't putting up bonkers offensive numbers, where they're not hyper efficient and just overwhelming with star power. This is to say they played badly. It just, it wasn't like one of these memorable games for any of the three. And yet they won. And LeBron kind of talked about that afterwards. Like they seem to be past the place where they're waiting for their sort of on paper star power to snap things into place and carry the day and have them be the team that everybody figured they'd be at the beginning of the year. It seems a little bit like they're past that.
Yeah, LeBron was asked something, and I don't remember the exact quote of the question, but to the effect of just, where they are right now in terms of all the stops and starts and all the adversity they've been through and the chaos and the injuries. And he said, we are who we are as a team right now. And he didn't mean that in a negative way, but more just matter of fact, like this is who they are. And everything that's led to this point is disappointing. It's been a hassle. It's created more of an uphill battle than I think anybody anticipated. Even the people around the team who used to consistently say, and I think they meant it sincerely, like there's stuff we're going to need to figure out with this many new faces and Russell Westbrook, who is maybe the least blendable player in the NBA. This is going to take a minute. Having said that, I think this has been harder than they anticipated. And it has not been made any, easier with the stuff that's been piled on top of it, injuries that began literally since training camp. They have had no continuity whatsoever. But at some point, and we're about a third of the way into this season now, it is what it is. And it doesn't matter if you're not where you think you should be. It doesn't matter if there's more road to make up than you would expect it. You just got to do better and you got to improve. And a good thing about this team over the last couple of weeks is they've been displaying steady incremental improvement. You can pick away at who they've been playing or, at the same time, it's who it's on their schedule right now. Every team, it seems like, is going to start having guys out because of COVID protocols. Like, you beat this team without player X. I think that's just going to be a game now. Like that's just the way things are going to be. But also,
Andy, they were losing games with to team missing player X or
true
the Oklahoma City Thunder with all of their players, but which isn't a great thing either. Like you can only play who you're playing, and it is better to win those games than to lose them. And they were losing a lot of them earlier in the season. They seem to be winning more of them now. I mean, they're 16-13, and that's not great, but it's a 3-game win streak. And this is a team that has had incredible trouble getting over 500 and staying there in any meaningful way. And, I took a lot of what LeBron was saying too, as like an acknowledgement of we can win, but it's not how we win isn't going to match the way that we thought we were going to win early in the season. And it may not match how we are able to win later in the season. But for right now, like, this is how it's got to be. And I think that's why LeBron has come back and has been more engaged. And, it was the same thing on Wednesday night in Dallas. The results weren't the monster games he's had over the last couple, last few that won him Western Conference Player of the Week. But he was hardly terrible. 24 points and 5 assists, only 2 turnovers, made 4 of 9 from 3-point range.
Including one from Dallas's logo.
I know. They'll say that one was from Fort Worth. They just have to grind. They have to be much more in a lot of ways like the 2020 team, 1920 team that won and had a grinder's personality, and for all the star power that they had in AD and LeBron, was not a flashy team in any meaningful way. And I thought what they did on Wednesday was reflective of that. Like Westbrook, especially early, was attacking the rim, There's nothing beautiful about how Westbrook does it, but it's relentless and it's powerful. AD was better in the second half, but at least was aggressive on the boards. And LeBron was LeBron. And then, they grinded this one out. They held a team on a bad offensive night to under 100 points in regulation. Dallas had 95 points going into the overtime. I'm sorry, 93. My math is bad. That's really good. I don't care if Dallas is struggling offensively. They're an NBA team under 95 points in regulation. That's really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to put a button on it, I don't know this for a fact, but I had suspicions that had the Lakers not been missing Malik Monk and Dwight on top of THT, which they had expected before they even got on the plane and everything, went sideways.
Poor Malik Monk had to be shipped back to LA in a sterile container. I always love when they he was pulled off, and the rule is you have to send them back in a safe manner. So he's in the back of a truck with guys in a hazmat
I don't
suit.
know, man. Right?
Is there a police escort? Are there sirens? What does this look like?
The way right now everything's backed up with shipping, I'm a little bit nervous. In terms of when Malik
is
Monk
Malik Monk just outside the port of Long Beach? Right
I don't know. I'm very worried about how long it's going to take Malik Monk to get wherever he's supposed to be. There's a lot of stuff backed up right now. Everyone's worried about how this is going to affect the holidays. Nobody's thinking about how it's going to affect Malik Monk.
I am sure that the correct answer to how did Malik Monk get back to Los Angeles is way less interesting than what's going on in my head. But what's going on in my head is fascinating. Right. It's nobody can go near the guy.
Right. I picture him in one of those shipping cans that you saw on The Wire.
Yes. It's with 3 holes poked in the side or something so he can breathe.
He wouldn't expose anybody else to COVID there. I'll say that.
That's
but anyway, I don't know if AD would have played had those guys not been available, but it didn't feel coincidental that he was bumped pretty early on from questionable to probable, with this situation. And he looked, at least for some of this game to me, like somebody who was still quite literally getting his legs underneath him. But, fighting through that felt very emblematic for what the Lakers did during this game.
We've said this all season long, and we will continue to. Style points are not things people can ask for right now. Win games. Nope. Win them however you can. Go win another game against Minnesota. Minnesota did beat Denver on Wednesday night, so they're maybe righting the ship a little bit. They get Patrick Beverley back and all that kind of stuff. But go win that game. Go see what you can do. Go beat an undermanned Chicago team, assuming that game takes place on Sunday. And look up in a month and see okay, winning games. And by the way, we're playing better too. Those things will probably go back together. So we'll get ready for the weekend and some of these interesting games. We'll do that. We'll look more at Austin Reaves and the potential rotation impact that we could see from that, and all kinds of other stuff. We'll do that Friday for Locked On Lakers. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen. Please subscribe to Locked On Lakers on YouTube. We'll see you on Friday.